Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to go ahead and get started on cutting this body today. I'm going to turn off this top and roll over here to the back. Head over to manufacturing mode. Let me get rid of this other stuff here, this previous setup. So I'm going to create a new setup here. We'll use this body blank. And we'll go from this point here and rotate this Z. That looks pretty good there. So if you see the video, the first thing I did was cut out this pocket. Now mine didn't go quite all the way through. You'll notice whenever I turn it over it still looks like it's solid, but then moments later you'll see that it's all cut out. You'll figure it out. So on this one I did a 2D pocket. You could play around with the adaptive clearing, but you can do the same thing with a 2D pocket. You just have to set it up for that. And then I use a 3/8 inch flat end mill, and I went ahead and measured my tool. I'd mentioned before that if you're using your tool, if your tool is too short, and you can just run the program anyway, and it'll just error out in the simulation. Well, that's not quite true. So if the tool height is not pretty close, it actually trips the stop on my Z height, and I had to come back in and make the tool closer to the correct length, and then it stopped doing that. So that may be an issue. If it keeps tripping the Z height, then it's because your tool isn't correct, I think. At any rate, I'm going to use a 3/8 on this. And then for the geometry, you'll see if you try to select down here on the bottom part that two things happen. It leaves gaps, and it also has some extra paths on the bottom side, so we don't want to grab that. Instead we'll go up here and we'll grab it here from the top side. And then for your height here, for your bottom height, I'm going to use the stock bottom, and everything else pretty much the same. I'm not going to leave any stock on this. Now we will do multiple depths on this one, and I'm going to do a step down of 0.7 inches. Which is roughly half. And then here's where, depending on how strong your machine is and how much cut you can take, this maximum step over, if I left it just like this, it's going to go around in spirals and start moving from the center out. And every time it jumped over, it's going to go a complete tool length into the cut. And at 0.7 inches, that's not going to work out. Some bad things are going to start happening. So I want this to only step over. I'm gonna make it kind of like an adaptive clearing is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use quite a bit of length, but then I'm going to take shallow bites, and I'm going to move this down to a 0.1 step over. And you may have to go less or more depending on how strong your machine is or whatever cutter you're using. This is why you start slow on your feed rate and then just increase it until your machine starts acting up. But I found for the video this 0.1 worked for my machine. Now I do have a 3 horsepower spindle, so it handled that pretty well. I'm going to turn my smoothing on here and take one of these zeros out. And I think I took these transitions out, both of them, and then just use the helix ramp. And I could ramp in a little more steep than that. I'm going to ramp in about 10 degrees. And select OK on that. Safe distance, yeah, this thing. You just need to start taking the numbers off the back of this thing until it turns black. So even at 0.7 it's not happy, so I'm going to take it down to 0.69. Okay, just say 0.6, 0.5, 0.2. Okay, 0.2 is good. 0.3 is no good. I'm going to say 0.2. And click OK on that. Okay, so you can see there's your 2 tool paths. You can simulate that if you want to see it run. Not sure why it did that. It did that in whenever I was actually cutting it too. And I don't know why I cut those 2 times. But that worked for me. You may need to take shallower depth. If your machine just won't handle that thick a cut, then you would just go ahead back in here and edit this thing and take shallower depths until you get something your machine can handle. Go in here, and this depths right here, you could take this down. You know, I'm going almost 3/4 of an inch down. You could just put this at 0.2 and just buzz around many times going down, with a bigger step over if you're only using the end of your bit. But that one's good for me, and then I'm going to click OK on that, and I'm going to create another 2D pocket. I'm going to use that same 3" bit, and then I'm going to select this right here, and I can pretty much keep everything. It's only 1/8 inch deep. I can pretty much keep everything the way it is. Not going to leave any stock on here. Turn my smoothing on. Go ahead and keep the maximum step over on this one, is just fine. And turn off these transitions again, in and out, and change my helix to 10 degrees. OK on that, and that'll cut that out. And then I'm going to create a 2D bore. I'm going to keep the same bit, and for my geometry I'm going to pick these large holes here. I think everything will be good on that. Click OK. And then I'm going to, next strategy, I'm going to use this 3D pocket clearing here. I'll keep the 3/8 flat mill. For my geometry, I'm going to select the bottom of this, this edge right here. And let's see here, I'm going to go ahead and leave this stock to leave checked. With these stock values are fine. Turn on this smoothing, take out one of the zeros. Let's see, this helix can go 7 degrees. Click OK on that. It's actually making too many levels, too many layers here. I'm going to edit that. Go to passes. And this maximum step down right here, I'm going to change this value from a 0.04 to 0.2. And that looks much better. Now this might be better to leave it just like this. It doesn't wrap so far around, it stops short here. That might be a better way of doing it. It's not the way I cut it in the video. I let it wrap all the way past these, and that worked just fine. It looks a little rough on the edges here, but the main thing is this part right here lines up with the neck, flush with the neck. And there's a lot of handwork to be done in here to smooth it when you're finished. Either way, you're going to have a whole lot of finishing to do here. But this might be better. You could start with this, and if that doesn't look right, you could come back in and change it. The way I did it though was just by let's see, I changed this this right here, tool containment. I went to outside the boundary, and you can see then it went all the way around like this, and that works. It left enough on there that I can shape it out just fine, but it may not be necessary. And if you click on the setup 3 here, you can let the simulation run through the whole thing. And then for the next thing, I cut out these comforts here. Oh, and you would have posted those by selecting the setup 3 and post the whole thing. Since there's no bit change necessary, it will cut the entire thing. And then for these comforts, we'll keep the same setup, and this time we'll go to the 3D parallel. And we'll select our 1/2 inch ball end mill or whatever you're using. And then for the geometry, we'll go down here to avoid touching surfaces, and we'll lower this value by 10 and turn on touch surface, and we'll just take this surface and this surface. For the step over, I've been using 0.05, but that's still quite a bit of sanding. I'm going to take this one down to a 0.03 on this. Okay, make sure the lines are going the way you want to cut. Now here's what I don't want to happen. See, it's coming down here, in which case it's going to be plunging into the deepest parts of the cut down here. I would rather do this the other way, so it starts over here shallow. This side's not as important because it's diving down. This side is getting progressively deeper as it gets, if I travel in this direction, it'll get progressively deeper and deeper and deeper, and that's what I want it to do. So to achieve that, I'm just going to edit, and right here I'm going to change the pass direction from 0 to 180. So you just want to do the reciprocal of what you have. Now it's going to start over here, and when it jumps over, it's going to start on the shallow side and do what I want it to do. And then you would just save that. And then I think the next thing I did was put these holes in here and these holes in here. These are slightly bigger than 1/4 inch, so what you want to do is a 2D boring, and we'll use that 1/4 inch flat end mill on that. And then for the geometry, just select these holes. And I think that's all we need to do on these. Yeah. And then we'll do a drilling operation with the same bit, 1/4 inch flat, and on these we'll select these holes. On these heights, I'm going to go ahead and put a negative value on the bottom height. I'm going to add a negative 0.1 just to make sure it goes through whenever we cut out the pocket on the other side. And then also for the operation here, I'm going to go with the chip breaking. 0.6. And actually you can leave all that just the way it is. I'm going to change this break distance here a little bit and take that down 10 to 0.05. And that's fine for wood. You can change these values if you want to. If you decide it's taking too long and too many pecks to get through it. And then you can click on the setup here. You can save that as one operation as well. And then watching the video, that should pretty much take care of the back of this thing. And then the next thing, I flipped it over on the front side. You can turn off this body and turn on just the body blank. And then edit the setup. And quit that body and select this body blank. And then here we need the box point, will be this top one here. And flip it back over again. And the first cut was just to take care of this arm comfort right here, and I did that with a 3D parallel. Now to parallel this, I actually went back into the design and found this angle right here, and I set that angle. So I'm going to select my 1/2 inch ball nose, and then for the geometry I'm going to go to the avoid touch surfaces, lower this value here, and then turn on the touch surfaces and select this one and this one. And then right here, step over 0.03, and in the pass direction, I don't remember exactly what that angle was. I think it was something like 43.5. But anyway, you can go back in the drawing and figure out what this angle is right here. Yeah, it looks like that was pretty close. It only had to move. It only had to adjust itself one time, and that would work just fine at 43.5. And this is the correct way. It's going to come in on the thin side and then get deeper and deeper and deeper and pull out at the bottom. And that's the way I want it. Go back over here to the design. Turn off this blank and turn this body back on. One thing I did when I was designing this, when I pressed these wire channels in, we need to change that. So if you click on this down here, you can find where we pressed the wire channels in right here. So right click and I'm going to edit that feature. And it's to object, and that's not going to work out. So click on that and just put distance, and select OK. Now what that does is enables us to isolate these from these. So what I want to do is get rid of everything except the wire channels. So I'm going to click on this and find that's back here. So I'm going to suppress that. And then we have these other guys right here. And those are right here. Nope, those are the wire channels. Right here. I'm going to suppress those as well. And it looks like we need to edit this wire channel. Press pull a little bit because there's a angle right here that shouldn't be in here. So these are right here. I'm going to edit that feature, and I need to get this little corner sliver in there as well, and this guy right there. Yeah, so this is a squared on the end. Click OK on that. Okay, so that's fine for that, and we can head back over here to the manufacturer. You can keep the same setup and do a 2D pocket, and I'm going to select that 1/4 inch flat end mill, and for the geometry I'm going to select the bottom of all these wire channel. These you have to close them in, make them closed, and select this line here and plus sign to keep that, and then this one, close it in, make sure everything's blue. Now on these we can go over here, don't leave any stock, and turn on your smoothing and take a 0 out of there. And on these, get rid of these lead in and lead out, and then the ramping move itself will create a depth of cut that will make it all work out. So we don't have to do multiple depths because the ramp itself. Yeah, that's fine. That way it'll go back and forth and back. It'll take a while to get to the bottom. Yeah, that should be just fine on that.